lately I've been feeling things change. We've been working hard, no sleep, get it every day. And I swear that we ain't stopping till we pay. Yeah, the pressure on, gotta make it work, triple play, yeah.
This is Triple Play Fantasy Basketball, Week 15. I'm your host, Coach James Lewis. On the other end, Doc Mendelson. What up?
Not much. Another Sunday here. James, it's good for you. You were making a little bit of a comeback in our home league.
Yeah, I need it. I'm going to grab that 6th spot. I'm going to get Cat back. I'm going to get Anthony Davis back. Paul George is going to play consistently. And I'm going to steal a crown. I'm going to upset the 1 seed and then make my way. All you got to do is get in, people. Get into the playoffs, and your injuries may work out for you.
I hate to agree with James this early in the show, but yeah, as if you get in the playoffs, literally anything can happen. And if you stream rightly and your players are healthy and sometimes a little bit of luck with other players sitting out on opposing teams, you can always win it all.
Well, in that first year when yours truly won the ship, it was the trade for Anthony Davis that worked out for me in the playoffs. I had missed him much of the season. I traded Harden, and I got a couple other pieces that came with it. And Anthony Davis closed out the deal in a championship
week. It was the bubble
week.
season. It didn't count.
Don't get me started with that. Don't get me started with that. I hate people trashing, tarnishing King James's name. We'll talk more about him as he's about to shatter the record. But games watch, we always talk about this to start things off. There are 3 teams with 2. Unfortunately, your 76ers, your Thunder, your Warriors owners. You got Chef Curry. Sorry for you this week. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the fantasy phenom that is. You only get 2, 14 teams with 3, 15 teams with 4 games. Pickup candidates. We're looking at KJ Martin, Dennis Smith Jr., Grayson Allen, Isaiah Joe, Damion Lee, Saben Lee, Josh Okogie. I don't know. We'll talk about the Suns backcourt. We're not telling you to pick all those guys up. Reggie, Bullock, and, of course, Jeremy Sochan. We'll get a mention because this is Triple Play Fantasy Basketball. Monday, Tuesday, streamers, Celtics, Bulls, Hornets. These guys play back-to-back on Monday, Tuesday, so you can get some extra games if you pick up, say, Patrick Williams, Ayo Dosunmu with the Bulls. You think about Grant Williams, Derek White. Hey, I wanted to ask you about that. When did you see the Celtics and Warriors game? It was one of the best games of the season.
I did see a little bit of it.
Malcolm Brogdon took it looked like he took the spot from Derek White. He played, I think, 36 minutes compared to like 17, I think, of Derek White. So looking forward, I mean, that'd be striking.
So I was saying this at the beginning of the year. I think they eased Malcolm Brogdon in because he's definitely one of the most injury-prone players in the NBA. Like, they wanted to save him for later in the season because he was getting 20-ish minutes to begin the season coming off the bench. Now he's getting a starter's workload. So I think this was a kind of preservation move that they had planned.
I think it was a fabulous move in the offseason as well to get a little depth and somebody that you can plug in. And you can play with Derek White, Brogdon, and Smart all on the court at the same time, even though they're all seemingly the same position. They're great defensive players.
I was going to say, you never have enough good defensive players on the court.
And smart IQ guys. And then the Hornets, we're going to talk about Dennis Smith Jr., but Mark Williams should be heightened on your watch list. Please free him. Against Houston, he had 17 points, 6 boards, and 5 blocks. Then he followed that up with 3 steals the next game, both 19 minutes. Play the man, please, because then he'll be a must pick up. Dennis Smith Jr., though, LaMelo's out, and we saw him thrive earlier in the season. He gets big dimes and big swipes. So the past 2 games, he had 8 assists and 7 assists. He may be our number 1 pickup this week. We don't know how long it'll last, but for the foreseeable future, he's plugging, he's playing, and he definitely gets those statistics.
The Hornets are 13-34, so second to last in the Eastern Conference. The one thing that bothers me about Hornets, and I think all the fantasy managers can relate, is they are so bad with their injury report. They're listing LaMelo Ball with left ankle soreness and left wrist soreness, and they're saying he's doubtful, but they don't even rule him out for an extended period of time. And this is what they did before with his previous ankle sprain. So, yeah, ride Dennis Smith Jr. Coach, I'm hopefully optimistic that he can be what he was earlier this season. He's missed his last 16 threes. He's shooting 22.4% from downtown this year. I mean, he might have just been one of those guys that started out the season hot, but regresses a little.
Yeah, that part does worry me, and that's kind of plagued him his entire NBA career, is his ability to shoot the ball. But if he can just, make it, low 30s, just to keep the defense honest, you could see good production here. What happens with Terry Rozier in the trade deadline? I don't know. He has not had a great season, so I guess somebody could get him for maybe lower stock than they could have got him in past. But if I'm the Hornets, I'm looking to move him and try to get some type of draft capital assets.
Yeah, get the contract off the books.
KJ Martin, another person at the trade deadline people are looking at. I know murmurs of him requesting trade. We're trying to get out. I think Dad has talked about it, but they are showcasing him, and he's playing 30-plus minutes. In the last week, 16 points, 8 boards, 2 dimes. Like right now, he's worth an ad. Minnesota had 15, 9, and 2. Against Charlotte, they had 11 points, 7 boards. Like these are kind of like McDaniels-esque type stats. But yeah, both brothers getting a mention here. But KJ Martin should be rostered right now. Right now, he's only 21%.
I agree. 5 games with 30 plus minutes played. The one thing for somebody that's 6'7", he doesn't give you a lot of stocks. He's averaging 0.7 on the season between both of them. So I'd like to see a little bit more from that from
I would
his
too.
size.
Yeah, and his athleticism. He should
his athleticism. Like he's someone that can play around the rim, but also shoot threes. He had 3 threes against Charlotte on the 18th, but we just don't see consistency, and that's why I think the Rockets are getting rid of him or looking to shop him. Is we've kind of seen these stretches over the years, and he's 22 years old. Granted, he's young, but we just don't see any consistency in his game.
And I just love watching these young boys, and after we watch their pops, we watch Kenyon Martin, and I was watching the Sierra Canyon game the other day. Bronny James, Ashton Hardaway, you got Pippen's son, who doesn't play as much, but the Boozer brothers, and that Cameron Boozer, he is the real deal. The number 1 player in his sophomore class. He was spectacular. He is spectacular.
So how old do you think Kenyon Martin Jr. and how old do you think Kenyon Martin Sr. is?
Like the difference?
Yeah. Well, yeah, like this age.
I think it's like probably 22 and 40.
22 and 45. 22 and 45.
All right.
So it's interesting thinking when Kenyon Martin is young in his career is Kenyon Martin Jr. And now 45, I feel like isn't even that old. If he was in the NFL and Tom Brady, he'd still be playing. And his son has already been in the league a couple of years. It's just kind of wild to think.
Yeah, and Bronny's like that too. Bronny is like that. If he was only a little bit taller, but like he just sees the game. He's definitely the best player on that Sierra Canyon team. All right, Grayson Allen, 25% rostered. In the last week, 17 points, 4 boards, couple assists, nearly 3 threes, a steal against Toronto at 25, 5, 4 threes. He's definitely a stream candidate for, the end of the week, Sundays, where you need to, maybe you're trying to push the envelope of 3-pointers. He can do a little bit of everything. He's good in categories, and right now he's playing well.
I agree. And as someone
safe, he's a safe guy.
Coach, it's interesting you talking up a Duke guy when you're wearing a Maryland jersey today. But Middleton is still out. He's missed 18 consecutive games, and even though they recalled him to the G League, like, who knows when he's going to play for Milwaukee? And when he does, imagine limited minutes right away. They're giving Giannis more rest. I think they're really just trying to make sure they're healthy for the playoffs. Like Milwaukee, whatever seed they're going to be, is going to be a contender coming out of the East as long as Giannis is healthy. So look for people like Grayson to get more minutes. I mean, he's only 27, so they can afford it.
Yeah, any team that basically has the same core of a championship team, all you got to do is get in. Like we know the Warriors are a big threat for the championship, even though they're basically 500 on the year. Or I think they are 500 on the year. They get in, they'll be a threat. They're playing for the playoffs. Milwaukee's bored with the regular season, and they're just not full strength without Middleton. Grand Theft Alvarado. It's about time. Jose Alvarado, who's been pondering on our list, but we got to give him a mention now. He's balling.
James, this is like the 14th, 15th show I've done with you, and that's the best nickname I've heard you give someone. Grand Theft Alvarado. I'm proud of you.
It's
I'm
not
proud of you.
it's not mine. It's not my original one, but that's what they call him, hiding in the corner, getting steals.
Okay, well, never mind then. I retract my statement. It's funny because I was going to mention that he does that.
Yeah, he does.
Alvarado is one of those sneaky guys.
Yeah, college guys are doing it too. I've seen some tape, like people are stealing it, and it actually works. I don't know. Then you get behind the steal. Yeah,
he kind of it's Quentin Grimes does that too sometimes, where you're just kind of lurking around. Sometimes you're trying to get a cheap steal here and there, cause a turnover, cause a bad pass. When you do that, you get more playing time, you get more minutes, and that's resulted in Jose Alvarado. We see some of the past games that he had 17 points, 3 threes, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal. Most recent game, the 20th. Then before that, 11 points, 3 threes. I mean, he's giving you multiple threes a game, giving you some swipes as well. James, he had 2 blocks against the Heat. I mean, that's a career high for Alec Burks right there.
And Alec Burks gets a mention. We'll see if he gets moved in the trade deadline. One thing I want to shout out about Jose Alvarado, he's a student of the game. He's getting better. He's a hard worker. He's somebody that's nothing's ever been given to him. And he reached out to Tony Parker to work on his floater game in the off season. And so like he's asking the questions. And you just got to root for a guy like that. Now, New Orleans, you feel bad because they're never healthy. And what the hell is going on, Brandon Ingram? I have him too. And it's just like, it seems like he's going to come back the next week. And then it's next week. There's something going on with that toe. Like, it's got to be a lot more serious than they're putting out there.
When they say it's sprained big toe, that's turf toe. That never resolves quickly. Because think about it, you're planting and cutting all the time in basketball. Yeah, I definitely think that's serious. But I love the culture they have in the Pelicans. Like, you look at the Herb Jones, the Najee Marshalls, Trey Murphys, Jose Alvarados, like people that just play hard and play together and aren't afraid to sacrifice their stats to do kind of the small things to make it work for the team.
Yeah, and looking forward to the weekend streamers, a Saturday, Sunday. You mentioned a couple of those guys. With Trey Murphy's out there. He's 57% roster at Yahoo, so it's a little high for put him on our show, but he's been balling recently. Najee Marshall's battling an injury, so that's something to watch. But if you can get one of those guys and for the back end of the week, do so. Maybe use a Saturday pickup. Moving on, Isaiah Joe, former Arkansas Razorback, is 8% rostered in Yahoo, so you can find him anywhere. But he's got the hottest hand in the league. The past 2 games collectively, 14 threes. So he's playing for OKC. We'll see how long it lasts. But I always say when shooters shoot and they're hot, go ahead and pick them up. So Isaiah Joe, who didn't work out for the 76ers, is getting a look here for the Thunder.
Life, death, taxes. You talking about Jeremy Sochan and us talking about a new Oklahoma City Thunder player each show.
That's what you're going to find.
Said it. He has 14 threes the last 2 games. His 25 shot attempts, 24 of them have been threes. He is literally living and dying by the three.
He's the streamer for threes.
It's absolutely crazy that 96% of his last shot attempts, and this is over a good sample, have been threes. That is absolutely – do you think he would pass up an open layup for a 3? Like he would have a layup, but then he would just dribble back out and try and take a 3 instead.
Hey, that's how you can keep a job here in the NBA. If you can hit the 3 ball like at the volume that he's doing, you will find yourself a job.
I mean, like James said, he's a streamer for now. We'll talk about a new Thunder player next week.
Something that's been a theme here too is figuring out who is going to fill in for Devin Booker and Chris Paul. Like we went from Cameron Payne, Damion Lee. We told you to get him last 2 weeks. He's been the most consistent as far as this is concerned. 16 points, 4 boards, 3 assists. That's rosterable. Like at the back end of a 12-team league. And then a couple weeks ago, he went berserk against Minnesota with 31. But he's the most consistent. But I did want to point out some other guys, and I want to hear you out in your opinion. No relation. Saben Lee, in last week, 12 points, 3 boards, and assist. He's been getting some assists here, 4 assists. They're trusting the play Saben here. And then Josh Okogie may have had the game of his life against Indiana in their last game. He had 24 points, 10 boards, 4 assists, and 4 blocks. Oh, and a steal, 5 stocks. So what's your feeling on the Suns and then their backcourt and who's filling in for fantasy?
So from a fantasy perspective, I think Damion Lee is the one to go between there. And the big thing we said about him is he just wasn't taking advantage of the opportunity. He was taking 4, 8 shots, and then 4 out of the last 5 he's taken double digits, 12, 17, 11, 7, and 13 shot attempts. So it was really about him being aggressive because the minutes were there, and he's giving you some threes with that. He's giving you some rebounds, some assists. He had 9 against the Grizzlies on January 16th. So I definitely think he's the way to go from there. Saben Lee, I think, is more of a streamer. He's been hitting a good percentage of his shots. I like him better for categories leagues. He's giving you some rebounds and some assists. And I've always been a Josh Okogie guy, but I think he's more of a defender. Like you said, probably a career game for him on offense. Like he scored 24, and that raised his season average to 5.2. Shoots 29% from 3. I think he's a better real life basketball player. He's a 6'4" guard with a 7-foot wingspan. He's not afraid to guard the best player on the team. He's not afraid to contest threes. And, when some players try to draw a foul, he can go straight up and defend it. So that's just kind of what I think is you go Damion Lee, Saben Lee, Okogie in that order for fantasy, but
it's a nightmare going on in Phoenix. They're like the worst team in the league right now. And the thing is, they were good when Book was there, but they are tanking so hard right now without him. And I mean, not on purpose, because they're still trying to they have a very small window here with Chris Paul. Like it'd be very interesting what they do in the trade deadline because Crowder hasn't played a single minute, and I know people aren't going to want him, and you can't just keep him on the roster if he's not going to play for you. We've been said we want Eric Gordon to go there. That would be a nice little look. But, it's interesting to see what happens. And with the new ownership, do they make a big splash? What are they going to do? They're my team that I'm really watching here in this trade deadline.
Jay Crowder. So you can go on DraftKings and actually bet players to get traded at the trade deadline as we just figured out this weekend. Jay Crowder has the best odds to get traded. DeAndre Ayton is on there too. And, you have to figure what they have in Phoenix might not be working, even at full strength. The West got a lot better this offseason, and new ownership. I think Book and CP3 are the only ones that are safe. They might have to make a big move if they want to contend.
Yep, I definitely agree. And it's not triple play fantasy without talking about Jeremy Juliusz Sochan of Great Britain, UK's finest, Lalomere High School, Oregon Duck, and now your starting power forward for the San Antonio Spurs.
Is that it? You're just going to introduce him and not say why people should pick him up?
Nah.
Oh, no, that's not my job.
I mean, the stats they scream. I mean, when he's hitting threes at two per game the last 2 games, look, come on.
You know what?
He's giving you 16 points.
He's gonna be a good late draft pick next year when he gets a little bit more playing time. It's funny, Coach. I meant to talk to you about this pregame. I said, "Oh, I made Josh Richardson graphics." I didn't see a mention of Josh Richardson in here. Josh Richardson been killing. Josh Richardson has at least 1 steal in 9 straight games. Did you know Josh Richardson had 17 points, 3 threes, 4 rebounds, 3 assists the other day? Interesting that you didn't include him on here. You know who I said you should also include? Reggie Bullock.
That's bull.
Reggie Bullock isn't on here. 4 straight games of double digits, 3-pointers, 5, 4, 2, 8. He shot 8 of 10 from 3. I mean, he's not good for anything. I'm giving you a little bit of steals, but you definitely pick and choose. You had Sochan on here, and you blatantly ignored me with Josh Richardson and Reggie Bullock. You just showed him the bias. Where's the Sochan jersey in the background, man?
I gotta get one now. Jeez. And Richardson, 30% roster Yahoo. You got to get him over Sochan. Vassell out. He's kind of taking that. He gets you some dimes. He fills up a little bit of everything. But Reggie Bullock is shooting the hell out of the ball. In the last 4 games, 15 points, 18 points, 10 points, 24 points. And he's had at least 2 3-pointers in the last 7 games. He's had 19 threes in the last 4 games. So Reggie Bullock is being trusted to play heavy minutes with Jason Kidd, and he's contributing. He's filling in.
You know, it's kind of interesting. I think Isaiah Joe has followed Reggie Bullock because Reggie Bullock, like 90% of his shots are threes also. Like,
Yeah,
what a time we live in the NBA where you just live and die by the three.
that's what you got to do when you play with like the likes of Luka and Shea and Giddey. Like shooters will have jobs in today's NBA because guess what? 3-pointers are worth more than 2.
That's groundbreaking.
What?
Whoa. James, you a math teacher, buddy?
I dabble. I dabble sometimes. I definitely I taught some calc in my day as a fill-in. We move on and talk about our weekend streamers. Think about the Clippers got a Thursday game and then a Saturday, Sunday. So Terrence Mann might be there for the take-in. It's so hard to trust the Clippers and who they're playing, but they're not playing good basketball without their stars being consistent. So it'd be curious to see what happens when playoff time comes around and with all of their pieces, if they're full strength, like, I feel like they can beat anybody, but it's so hard to trust. A lot of people pick them to win a championship, but again, that's hard to trust. You did?
I did. Or to get to the finals, I did.
I had the Bucks, and with this Middleton thing, it's making me question it. The Celtics look like the team to beat in all of the NBA.
We'll see.
We will see, and you don't win halfway through the season because halfway through the season they were 500, just like the Warriors last year. And of course, you make a little move here, and it changes the whole outlook of your team. Maybe you trade Josh Richardson and you get a Derek White in return, and it changes the whole outlook of your team. But for Doc, I'm Coach. Till next week, we'll see you.